Hello, my name is Greg Clark. I'm a retired math and computer science teacher, a WikiTree member, and an amateur genealogist. And I'm making this video to share a spreadsheet that I have put together that I have used to help me save and organize my matches on 23andMe, as well as the shared matches, the relatives in common. Considering other things that have happened this week, I'm recording this on Thursday, March 27th, and at the beginning of this week was the news that 23andMe had filed for bankruptcy. So there is a lot of worry and concern among users who take advantage of 23andMe for their DNA matches. And so I thought that it would be helpful to share this spreadsheet that's been helpful for me with others so they can store their matches and the information there. So I hope this is helpful for you. So what I would say though, if you are really concerned about saving as much information from 23andMe as possible, I would direct you actually to the excellent blog post that has been done by Roberta Estes. So if you have not joined her blog and follow her regularly, I would highly recommend that. She is an excellent source of all information DNA related. And in September, when there was some previous troubles with 23andMe, she put together this excellent blog post about 23andMe, step-by-step instructions to preserve your data and matches. And I would recommend this strongly for anyone to read and follow. I am not suggesting one way or the other about deleting data. There's lots of information, and I think there's some misinformation and some panic out there about that step, and I'm not going to suggest one way or another what is right for you. You have to make that decision on your own. But before you do anything, I highly recommend that you do preserve what you as soon as possible. And with that in mind, my spreadsheet here could be one way to help you with that. So before I begin, let me just give you the overview of the process, and then we'll go through it step by step, and you can follow along with me as I do so. So first of all, I have this master spreadsheet that I've set up. I call it the 23andMe Relatives in Common Organizer, and the master copy is, of course, called Master Copy, and it lives in my Google Drive. And you have my email address there, so if there are issues, you can always email me about that. It has the version number. The current version number is actually 1.01, and if you watch this later, it may be increased by 1.01. 102, who knows? But anyways, you can always check on that to see what the current version is. So basically, the first step is you have to create your own copy of the spreadsheet in your own Google Drive. Then you're going to copy information from 23andMe, and basically we're just going to use some keyboard shortcuts to select all the information, edit, copy, and then edit, paste it into the spreadsheet. And you're going to be copying information from two places in 23andMe. First, your DNA relatives page, and then your DNA, the matches, the relatives in common pages for each of those matches. And we'll put those in two different areas in the spreadsheet, and that will allow us to organize them in a table. And then the final step is a matter of, now that you have them all in a table, is to group those matches together and cluster them. And there's some color coding and some macros that are built into the spreadsheet to help you do that. So at the end, you'll get something that looks like this, a table at the bottom where the color coding, the clusters are the ones that are the matches that are most closely related to each other. So just to break that down in a little more detail, step one, we've got the master copy of the spreadsheet that's in my Google Drive. You will go to you'll go to your own drive and copy it, make a copy of, put them in and you'll call it your own. You can call it whatever you want, but you save it to yours. And then you go to your DNA relatives page in 23andMe, and we'll be copying that to create your own list of your top 125 matches. Now you can actually keep on going. You can save all of your matches using this process. But to make the table, which we're going to do in step 3, the spreadsheet is limited to 125 by 125. If we go much bigger than that, then the internal memory in the spreadsheet gets gets used up pretty fast, and your machine might slow right down. So if you wish to increase that, then you might want to make multiple copies of the spreadsheet for different groups. And then the last step after you've got all of your 125 top matches in this table is then to group them, review them, reorder them. The color coding is built into some of the tabs, and you'll see that. So that's basically the process. So let us go through this. In the link to the spreadsheet is in the description of this YouTube video. So you'll have to, if you open up that, you click on the more, and you'll see that the link to that will be there. I will also put a link to Roberta Este's article 23andMe. She actually has a more recent article that she just added this week with more details specifically about the declaration of bankruptcy and what it means. And I'll just reiterate, I would recommend strongly following her for all of her DNA advice and wonderful information she shares with the whole genealogy community. So first step, load up the master copy. The link will be, again, as I said, and the first thing you're going to need to do is to make your own copy of it. And so you go to File, Make a Copy, and then you need to name it. So I'm going to call this my demo copy of 23andMe, Relatives in Common, and I'm going to take off the words master copy so I don't confuse myself about that. And then I hit Make a Copy, and it will make a copy. Now, while that's happening in the background, some things you need to know. First of all, this is done in Google Spreadsheets, and the formulas work in Google Spreadsheets, and specifically Google Spreadsheets as they work inside Google Chrome, the Chrome browser. The formulas will work on a Windows or a Mac machine as long as you're using the Google Chrome browser. If you copy the spreadsheet into Excel or download an Excel version of it, some of the formulas may work, but not all of them will. So if you prefer to work with Excel, then my recommendation is you have to stay with this version, do all the manipulation in Google Spreadsheets, and then when you're done and you get to that final matrix of data, then copy that into your Excel program or whatever other spreadsheet program you wish to use. But for now, your 23andMe tabs should be in a Chrome browser as well as this spreadsheet. And so you will need a Google Drive account to save it to. So if you don't have one, you can get a free Google account, and if that's the only thing you use it for, if you don't trust Google for anything else, this is the one thing you will have to use it for if you're going to follow this process. We've got my own copy here, and the one thing you need to know is that there are some macros built into this, and you can do most things without using the macros, but the macros certainly make things a lot easier. If you've already downloaded this and now if you manage multiple accounts with 23andMe, then you will want separate versions of this spreadsheet. Or if you use the same one over and over again, and then you copy the data into Excel or some other place, then you're going to need to reset when you go to a new user. And so to do that, we go up to the extensions. That's the extension menu is where the macros are stored, and click on macros, and then you can choose the one you're going to run. So the reset one is right there. And so you would click on that. Now, the very first time you run a macro, whether it's the reset macro or any macro, the very first time you run it, you see it's going to try, it says running a script, but it requires you to authorize that you want to run this macro. A macro is like a little mini program that's written inside the spreadsheet, and I've created all these macros. I will vouch that these are all my own creation, and they only affect this spreadsheet. They do not go elsewhere. They do not check any other data on your computer. So they are safe to use. So if you trust me, and I hope you do, they are definitely safe to use. But the Google always wants to make sure that you are aware of that and that you give your authorization to run these little mini programs. So you need to just click OK to say yes, the author creation is required, and then it will ask you to choose the Google account that you're going to run them through. And so I choose mine, and then it gives you to make sure you trust them. Yes, you can. And these are limited to just this spreadsheet. They don't check anything else. And then you click allow, and then you're off to the races. So this particular meant the reset all. Actually, that particular macro, I think it's the only one I've built in this confirmation button that says, are you sure you really want to clear out all the data? Which is good, because if you hit it by mistake, you don't want it. You'll just hit no. But if you do, then if you do want to clear it out, you can hit yes. Now, I don't actually. It's an empty spreadsheet right now, so I don't need to. Also, I'll say no. Okay, so first step then is we're going to go into the DNA relatives page. So you open up your 23andMe and then you switch down to your DNA relatives page. Now, for the purposes of this demo, I have tweaked the web pages that I'm using on 23andMe and also tweaked a copy of the spreadsheet so that the columns that have the names in them are in some weird font that hopefully no one is going to bother trying to decode. So this is my DNA relatives page, and in weird font are some of my DNA relatives, but you don't know who they are, and I can't even, except for the fact that I happen to remember what the first three people were. Well, one anyways. They are sort of a mystery. So this is my version of anonymizing the data. I have a nice plugin that works great to anonymize data automatically on other sites like Ancestry and Me, MyHeritage, and Family Tree DNA, but it does not work on 23andMe, so I found this as a solution. So you go to your DNA relatives page, and the first thing you're going to need to do is you're going to copy all of this information. And so to do that, we're just going to select all. And so with the keyboard shortcuts, you Control A on a Windows machine or Command A to select all on a Mac. So you've done that. See how it's highlighted everything? I hit Command A on my Mac. And then I'm going to do Command C or Control C on a Windows machine to copy. And then I switch to my demo copy of the spreadsheet. And I'm going to go to the tab, look at the bottom here. I'm going to the tab that says raw data, and I'm going to paste the raw data. This is page 1 of my DNA relatives. I'm going to paste it right here underneath the yellow marker. So that would be in cell A5. I just do a single click, not a double click, just a single click. And then I'm going to do Control V or Command V. So I'm going to do Command V on my Mac, but you would do Control V if you're using a Windows machine. And you'll see what happens is it automatically pastes the data all the way down the column. And then it shows up in a little table here. And you can see those are the names, again, indecipherable names of my relatives. And it tells you the relationship, the amount of DNA they shared, the percentage, because 23andMe likes percentage. I've also added a column that converts that to, rounds it to the closest centimorgan, and then the number of segments, because that's interesting to know as well in terms of relationship and how close. Now, if you had double-clicked, I'll just show you if I double-clicked in a column and I did a paste, then what happens is all of the data appears in one big giant column, and then the formulas just can't work. So I'm going to undo that. You just click on the column on a cell to highlight it, and then you do your paste like that. Okay. Now, so I just did page 1. So let me go back to my DNA relatives page, and I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and I'm going to hit page 2 or the next button. Either of those will work. And now I've got page 2 selected. And interestingly enough, it still has the Control A is already, it's still highlighting everything. That's interesting that it does that. So I'm just doing it again just to make sure that it covers all the text. Control A to select all of the text, then Control C to copy it. And then I'm going to go back to my spreadsheet. This is my version of the spreadsheet that I've saved in my Google Drive. And I'm going to put this page 2 underneath the yellow highlighted cell. Just a single click there. Just single click. Then Control V or Command V to paste it. And then you'll see another row. There are 25 rows on that. And then let's go back to our DNA relatives page, and we can move on to row 3. Now, one thing I should have mentioned is you'll see that I have mine sorted by the percent related. I think the default generally is the strength of relationship. And that uses some internal calculation that 23andMe has. It's close to, but not exactly the same order as percent related. And because I want to for sure have the ones that are the highest at the top, I switch the order. We're going to, for the top 125, we're going to take the top 125. So that's going to be pages 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, because there's 25 per page. So we're going to be doing 5 pages of this. Probably doesn't matter whether which version you use here, but as a math teacher, I prefer to go down numerically. So I'm starting at percent related. So go see how it descends: 81, 79, 78, 76, 77. Whereas when I did the strength, it seems to jump around different places. Anyways, now that's okay. So we've got all of our we'll just pretend I've done this five times, and we'll have this table. So then we're going to copy this whole table. Now it'll go all the way down to row 125. Actually, I guess row 120, because there's a few, row 126 in fact. So you'll copy this whole table, and what we're going to do is you'll highlight the rows, the table you've got, the data, and then we're going to do it the same. We're going to do Control C or Command C on a Mac to copy it, and then we're going to paste that data into the next tab over, which is what we're going to use for my top 125 matches. And so we're going to put this, because the table, if we look back here, it starts with the name. So we're going to put it right underneath the name column. So I see right where this cell is highlighted already, right there. And then I'm going to use a Shift Control V, and I put that right here. Or on a Mac, it would be Shift Command V. And what that does is it's a special paste command. It's a paste command that pastes the values only. So you see, the other way you can get to it is actually to right-click in the cell and then choose Paste Special Values Only. And you see there's the shortcut, the command shortcut right there. Apple or Command Shift V on my Mac. It's telling me you can also actually get there from the Edit menu. Edit Paste Special Values Only. So I'm going to do that, and there it goes. There's all of the data. So that's my list of DNA matches. And now that's step 2 done. And now the next step is going to go through each of these matches and find and store all of their matches or relatives in common. Okay? Okay, so we have just finished step 2. We've created our top 125 matches in that list, and that's what we just Control Shift pasted, or that's paste all values. Now the next step, we're going to go back to 23andMe, and for each of those shared matches, for each match in that list, we're going to open up their relatives in common and copy the relatives in common into a table. So that'll be a different tab. So that's what our next phase looks like. So we're going to move from our spreadsheet back to the DNA relatives list. And so here I am. And so I want to go back to page 1. And what I'm going to do is on the, for each of these matches, I'm going to click on them to open up their page. And so that I don't lose this and I have to navigate back and forth, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to right click and then choose Open Link in New Tab. Okay? And so when I do that, when I click that link, it's going to take me to this page here, which will, there we go. So this is the person, their page, and then I'm going to go back down to the bottom, and I'm going to click the Find Relatives in Common button. So when I click that, it's going to think about it, and then it's going to give me this. And so here is the Relatives in Common page for my first match. And you see I've also anonymized, used a strange font again, so I'm not giving away too many details here. But now what makes this a little more frustrating is that 23andMe chooses to only show 10 relatives in common at a time. So it's a very small list. But what's important is that you can see not only how you're related to this person, you can see that right at the top. First cousin once removed is their suggestion at sharing 6.02% DNA. That's my highest match. That one actually just came in last week. So that was kind of exciting. But you can see how all my other matches relate to that person. So that's very exciting, because when we get later on to matches where you have no clue who they are, then you can see how they relate to each other, and then that's going to help us cluster. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before to copy this information. We're going to do a Control A or a Command A on a Mac to select all the text on the page. And then we're going to do a Control C or a Command C on a Mac to copy it. So now it's copied into our clip. And then we're going to go back to the spreadsheet. And we're going to move to the next tab over, which is the Raw Rels in Common tab. So there's a couple things about how I put together this spreadsheet. If the name of the tab starts with raw, then that's a hint that we're copying the raw data from the other site, from the 23andMe site. Okay? If it doesn't start with the word raw, then it's a place where we're storing information or that's formatted, or we're doing some manipulation with it. So we're going to the raw relatives in common. And instead of writing the whole word, I just use that short, rels in com. But I'm pretty sure you can figure out what that means. And again, we're going to click, we're going to do a single click, and we're going to do a paste. Now, in this case, it's actually not a regular paste. For this page, we have to use that special Shift Control V or Shift Command V on a Mac to do it. We're actually just pasting the values. So you could do a right click, choose Paste Special and Values Only, or you can use your Command shortcuts, Shift Control V or Command Control V, Command Shift V, whichever is easiest for you. I'm going to just click there for now, and then it's copied those down. Now, one important thing is you have to put in the number of the row of the match. So this is the first match, so that's person number 1. So I got to make sure that it's row number 1. We're going to do all of row number 1s, and then we're going to start on row number 2 in this demo. So you'll see how it works. So here we go. So I did the copy. I made sure that this is person number 1, so I've got that in there. And then you'll see that it fills in the details for the places, the people that first match, those first 10 people. We're going to collect all of that information in column U, but the calculations go into column T. So we need to hit the slide button here, which will slide them over. So you can see it's just going to go through column T and slide the numbers, the relationship over. Okay, and the relationship includes the percentage, the centimorgans, and the relationship estimation that that 23andMe gave us. Okay, so let's go back. That will go to page. So here we are on page 1. We hit next, and we'll get page 2 of the relatives in common. Again, we're doing Control A or Command A on a Mac, and then Control C or Command C to copy it. And then we're going to go back to our spreadsheet. And we can clear the data if we want. It's not absolutely necessary in between for the same person, but you can do that if you want to make it nice and tidy. And then I'm going to do that Shift Command V, or you can use the menus as well. Shift Command V or Shift Control V. And then you see what's happened here is it's highlighted, or it's the column T, the formulas, the magic formulas, have interpreted the information here and added it to some other places along the way. And we're going to hit slide to slide that over. So we want to build this column U up for as many matches as possible. Now, there's a little note here, and let me just zoom in on that so you can see that. So it tells you how low you have to go. So because I sorted the matches by percentage, the lowest match, the match number 125 is at 82% in this case, 8.82. So if I go, so I need to make sure that I have at least that low in the list. So when I get back to, here I am, nope. When I get back to here, yeah, so that's gone low enough. No, it's not gone low enough. It's at 112 there. So I'm going to keep on going. So I'll do this for another round. Copy that. Go over here. Zoom back out again. Okay, and I'm just going to put my cursor here, and I'm just going to do the Shift Control V, paste over top. And let's see, so it added a few more. Now do you see how the new ones, I'm on the 3rd page of relatives in common, but it's sort of interspersed them in between the list, and that's why I needed to use this, create this slide button so that it sort of slides the new matches in between. And if you want to scroll down and just see that at work, it's kind of fun to see that build. My guess is that the very next one, let me go over here. If I go over one more page, there may not be anyone in the list. Let's try that and see. I'm going to clear the data out just to make sure. I'm going to paste, Shift Control V, pasted it in. Oh, there is one. There was one. Just one though. Slide that one over. We want to get every relative in common. We don't want to lose any. We don't want to leave anyone behind. So let's do it one more time. Copy. Now, just looking at these numbers, look at that point, 60.65, 0.64, and it's all decreasing down to 0.60. So there are, I would say there's a chance, no, almost zero chance that there is someone new. No, we've run out of, we've run out of relatives here. You'll notice in this, my demo, what I'm doing here, because I wanted to get it out to you quickly, it's only done the top 50. If you have the top 250, if you've gone for the full 125, you will have to go a little bit further. Actually, once you get into it, it's pretty straight. It's pretty quick to do. So now I've built all of this. What do we do next? We take this column U, and we're going to copy that data all the way to the bottom. So for here, I'm just going down that far. That's the last one. If you've done the full 125 matches, then you would copy it all the way down to row 125. Just to now that you've highlighted it, just Control C or Command C, and then we're going to jump over to the next tab, My Shared Relatives, and you'll see this tab is set up in a matrix form. So you have the same, you've got your DNA match names down in the order in which you copied them initially, and you have the same names along the top. And we're going to paste this one in a column, in the first column here. And again, we're going to use the Shift Control V or edit paste special values only. And there, it's pasted them in. So a few things to note. On each tab, every page in my spreadsheet, I put in red, big red, whether you're using Control V or Shift Control V to copy into it. So if you're ever unsure, always look for that to let yourself know. So that, see how it has Shift Control V right there in the corner. The one before also had Shift Control V in the instructions there. That one had Shift Control V. And the very first one has just Control V. Okay. This particular spreadsheet uses the Shift Control V a little more often. Interesting. Usually it's about half and half. But anyways, that's what the other thing, when you're pasting in, if you've got it lined up right, the largest number there, 7,440 centimorgans, which represents yourself, or how someone matches themselves. So you see that's me matching myself. That, if you've got it lined up right, that 7,440 centimorgans will always be in a green square. If it's askew, then that means you started on the wrong cell. So you just do a Control Z or an undo to take it back and then line it up right. Okay, let's do one more example. And so I'm going to go back to my DNA relatives page. And we've done the first person. We've done this person all together. So now I'm going to go to my second person. I'm going to right click, open the link in the new tab, and that will take me to this person's. Again, you don't know what her name is. I'm going to go to the bottom and I hit relatives in common, and then I get this. You'll just have to trust me that I did hit relatives in common, because there it is. So I'm on page 1 of her relatives in common. I'm going to do the same thing. Control A to copy it all. Control C, Control A to select it, I should say. Control C or Command C to copy it. Then we go back to the spreadsheet, and then we're going to back up to the raw relatives in common. And now that we're on a new person, a new match, what we have to do is, first of all, we have to clear out column U. So we want to tell the spreadsheet we're starting with a new U. It's a new U today. So we do that, and then we can clear out this data here just to make sure. And this is the second person, so I'm going to change the row number right now. You'll see automatically now that the name has changed. Now, you may or may not be able to read that, but it's the same scribble as over there, so it's person 2. And the other thing is, you'll see that number that represents yourself, it moves down from row 1 to row 2. So that's sort of a visual thing to pay attention to, so you know that you're right. So now we're going to do our Shift Control V or paste special values only into there, and here we go. We're back at the beginning again. We hit the slide button, it'll slide things over. And then we can go back, choose the next, copy, select all, copy, Control A, Control C, Shift Control V to get the next batch. You see there's another 10 down here. Hit slide. And then let's see. Let's do another. Probably won't have to go too much further. Try that. Control A, Control C. Switch back to the spreadsheet. going to clear the data just so that we've got it fresh. And then I'm going to paste special. Shift Control V will also do that. And there's just a few left, maybe just one. Slide that one over. Okay, and I'm pretty sure that that's probably done. If I go back to, and remember the one where it has to be 82.82, and all of these are much lower than that, 57, 53, 52, 49, yeah. So we'll be fine with that. So we're going to take the values in this column all the way down to the bottom. And if you had values to 125, you go down to here, copy them, Control C, copy. Then to the next page for my shared relatives. And now you want to copy them, and you probably want to put your cursor in that top row, the row where the first person's name was. I'll show you why. If I put it on the green square, and you may be tempted, you may be lured towards that green square, and if I do that, and I do my Shift Control V, you see the 7440 does not line up nicely. It's not right. So that tells me I've done it wrong. So I'm going to just do Control Z or undo, and then I'm going to line it up in that top row, which is what I suggested in the first place. And I'm going to go Edit, Paste Special, V, or use a shortcut, Shift Control V or Command Shift V on a Mac. And there we go. Now it's lined up nicely, and there's all the relationships there. Okay, so keep on doing that until you are all done. And when you are done, you will get a spreadsheet that looks like this. Okay, so I haven't done every single one of them, but I've done a whole pile of them so that we can play around with them. So this is what you'll get when you've done. You've got a bunch of, you've got a nice matrix of relationships, and in each cell you can, there's percentages, there's centimorgans, there's relationships. All of that nice data is packed there, but it's kind of hard to make sense of it. So the next three tabs help you make sense of that. The first one is, it just shows the centimorgans, or the numbers, the raw numbers. And since every other DNA company and many of us think of relationships based on how the numbers are related, that's the one that I work with most often. And I have it color-coded automatically, so the cells are filled in the same way. So if you go back, you can see the pattern is the same. So like there's a solid sort of, 5 by 5 grid of information here, then there's a little bit of white space, and then there's another block. One nice thing about it is if you've done it right, then this should be a nice symmetrical matrix. So if you think of this diagonal, the green diagonal along the side, it should be like a mirror in terms of the data along the mirror. So you can see that there's our 5 by 5 block, there's the white space I was telling you about, and there's the other next blocks. So I have it color-coded, so the closest relationships are in red, either a dark red or a lighter red, and then they go to, I basically use the colors of the rainbow. So red are the closest, then from dark to lighter, then the oranges, the darker oranges are closer, then the light orange into the orangey yellow, and then yellows, and then greens, and then blues and violets. Okay, so the closer to the red and orange, the closer the relationship is in the cluster. So you can see there the first bit, and these were ones that were, I believe, like my first cousins once removed, second cousins, so those are going to be close, and they're closely related to each other. And then here's a cluster. These two matches must be fairly closely related to each other. They might be second cousins based on the coloring there. I'm guessing if they're in the orange to yellow zone, they're more likely second cousins of each other. And that now they're a 9/11, so that person is maybe a first cousin of someone. And so that is the raw data. And you can see the same using the percentages. And so that main diagonal is 100% because they're the same person in the row and column where you meet. Or if you'd rather, you can look at it by relationship. So this is the relationship that 23andMe recommends. If you have edited the relationship, then that's what will show up. If you haven't, then it'll be whatever the best guess of 23andMe is. So that may or may not be accurate. So there we have it. Now, what do we do with that? So this is where we get into some fun stuff. So what I like to use is the numbers. And ideally to organize this, now you can just stop here because now you've got all the data that 23andMe has given you. So you've got all the DNA relatives, you've got the matches of the matches and how they relate to each other. But the real power of having this information, especially now that you have it in a spreadsheet, is that you can now play with it and organize it. And to me, the logical way to organize it is to rearrange these columns so that the clusters of people who are most closely related are together. Now, you don't want to mess up any of these ones where it's been calculated automatically for you. So what I recommend is you take the one you prefer, and I would suggest either the centimorgans, if you like working with pure numbers, or possibly the relationships, and duplicate that one. So I'm going to use the numbers. I'm going to duplicate that tab. And so it'll say copy of my shared centimorgans. And after a moment, it gives me the color coding. So that's very nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, so first off, I can see that to myself, I have got two really close matches. And I think those are both first cousins once removed. I'm going to try to cluster matches together so that if they are, so the reds connections are all together, and the reds and maybe the dark oranges. So basically anything from the full 7440 to around 400 or so. So the first three matches are fine. Now let's see, if I look at this next one, okay, so I'm going to ignore these first three columns because those people are the closest to me and I'm just going to leave them there. Now this match here is not as close as the other ones to me. So I'm going to try and cluster all the ones that are close to this person. And I see that if I look down this column, there is a match that's in the 400s, so a dark orange here. And so I'm going to want to drag this column up. So I put my cursor in the very left column here where it says row number 10. I'm just going to drag it up to there. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the column. So there's the same match just in the column over there, the 449. See, the 449 should be the exact. I'm going to do the same thing with the column and drag the column over. So now I've got these two matches side by side. And so because of that, they could be, they're related to each other. Probably, I'm guessing at this, either they may be first cousins once removed or second cousins or something along that line. But they have some type of relationship that if we knew what their trees were, and if only 23andMe had trees, that would be helpful, wouldn't it? We might be able to figure that out. And if I go down, I don't see any other really close ones with them, so I might just leave that right now. Then let's go over to the next match here that hasn't been explored. This one, let's see, is there no real strong matches there. Down here, let's see, do we have any? That one doesn't look like. So some of these are sort of singletons, so they may be distant cousins or from different branches of the family. But oh, look here. There's one that just jumps out at you. So look at that, 7440 and then a 37113. I think that's probably a parent-child relationship. So I'm definitely going to want those two side by side. So I'm going to grab that one, bring her up, and then slide this one over. Now, I can tell that these are the same. These two names are the same names. Ideally, you see, what you want is you want to keep your matrix symmetrical. So you want the names down the side, the names for each row, to match in the same order as the names in each column. And so I've done that. The other thing is, now that we've gone down, so there in this column there's a match of 654. So that's a pretty good match. That could be a first cousin. So let's slide that one up. And let's see, where's 654? There we go. Slide over. Boop. There we go. And is there any other really strong ones? I don't see any other strong ones right now. Next one over here, there's a 911. So that's, again, another strong match. So I'm going to slide that up. And I'm going to slide this over here. Okay, so you see what I'll end up with is, so here's a cluster of matches that are fairly close to each other. Here's another little cluster of 3 matches that are close to each other. Another cluster here. It looks like this is the building. This would be another cluster I could probably want to investigate. Maybe slide that one up right away. Just begging to be put together. And so by investigating these clusters, if you can find their common ancestors, then that will help you figure out, once you've figured out their most common recent ancestor, then that will be a clue into how you're related to that group, that cluster, and build that. So that is one way of taking that data and organizing it. If you did the same sort of thing using My Shared Relatives, you could do the exact same principle, and you might want to cluster all the first cousins together, first cousin matches. And then when you're done that, you might want to go back a second time and look at the second cousin matches to each other, and see if that helps. Again, if 23andMe had trees, and some matches have posted that they're, I think, some of them you can see if they have a tree listed, but most of them don't do that, an external tree that you can investigate. That would make it easier. Now, one thing, I have added an additional page, and that is the shared centimorgans with macros. And what that, on this page, it takes your shared centimorgans. This is the raw data that we copied over along with the matches of matches, and this is the order in which the relatives were originally presented, or the DNA matches were presented. If you like the idea of clustering, but you're a little clumsy with the mouse, and dragging and dropping columns and rows is challenging for you, and even if it's not challenging for you with one screen's worth, if you're dealing with a whole 125 matches, then it's going to get cumbersome. So what I've done is I have built in a page, a tab, that allows you to do that, and automatically does the sorting for you. So you don't have to do the dragging and dropping. So you don't have to duplicate anything. It's already built into this shared centimorgans tab. And I show you right now, this is what it looks like when you've done that. So that's basically similar to what I just showed you over here, right? So I did that from scratch so you could see it. And here's what it looks like when you use the macros. And so let me just show you how the macros work. So the first 3 columns in this tab are the original matches that you've made, that you copied from your DNA relatives. And then there's the original match order. And it also shows you the number of centimorgans that are shared with you, the primary test taker. But what you can do is, this is the new match order, the new order that you want to manipulate, or you want to reorder your spreadsheet in. And so if I put this back, so let me just clear that out. I'm going to just copy the original numbers from 1 to 25, and put those over here. There we go. So that's the original match order. Okay. So, but if we change the order, the numbering in here, then that's automatically going to change the columns. So remember the first thing we did, let's go back here. The very first thing we did was we slid the 204, or was it the 204? Let me just, no, it was the 449. This person here, we slid this up next to the, in this column, because we figured those two are related, or more closely related to each other. So we basically want the person in this row to go up 1, 2, 3 more slots. So they're currently, that's match number 7. Okay. So we really want, instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we want the matches to really go 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 5, 6. So I can just type in, I can put the 7 here and then put the 5 and the 6 below. And when I do that, if you saw what happened when I typed the numbers, it automatically reordered the rows and it automatically reordered the columns for me. So same sort of thing here. The next thing we did, we wanted to move this 3713 up next to the 744. So we want to put the match who's in this row, number 14. We want that to be the 14 to be right after number 8. So after match number 8, we want 14 to happen. So I've got this this temporary row right here, this temporary scratch pad, so I put this in here so you can sort of play around and sort of prepare for how you want it to look. So 8, we want it to go 8, then 14, and then all the other numbers down to where the 14 would have been. So I'm just going to copy that into there. So that's really the new order I want it to be. So this temporary scratch pad, whatever you put in this row here, this column I mean, doesn't change anything in your spreadsheet, but it gives you a place to sort of do some planning. And then I am gonna copy that into here, and I'm just gonna paste it. And now it should automatically, it will have moved the 3713 right up there. So you can do that. So you can just type the numbers in, just in column D directly. You can plan your attack in column G and then copy it over into column D, and then that'll work. But the third option that I've built into the spreadsheet is I've actually built in some tools, some macros. If you go to the extensions and macros, you see I've got a bunch of swap up or slide up functions. Actually, I renamed them to slide up in the final version. So if you go to my, let me go to my original one here, my new master copy. I've renamed them to slide up. Okay, so in this demo right now, it says done, but I've added some more tweaks this morning before I started recording. Anyways, it'll be slide up. So I want to slide this guy up. I'm not sure, at least 10 rows. The 654, I want it to be right under the 3713. So I'm going to go to the extensions, macros, slide up 10, and it's going to run the script. Now, the script's going to take a little bit of time to do because it's a bit of calculations. 1, 2. Yes, we wanted to. Okay, so apparently I hadn't approved it before. So now I'm approving it, just like I said before. And now it should. There it goes. Okay, it went up 10. I need to go one more. So I just need to go to extension, macros, slide up 1. And there we have it. And you can see it's moved the rows up and it's moved the columns across. And you can continue doing that until you get a nice balanced matrix. And again, then you'll see the clusters. These are the clusters of DNA relatives that are closely related to each other. So these three people here are, well, with those numbers, two of them are parent-child, and this other one is probably some type of first cousin or first cousin once removed, maybe a second cousin, possibly, of that cluster. So, and then so on and so forth. And so that is about it. That's how you use the spreadsheet. I hope this helps you save your data from 23andMe and organize it. And if you have any questions, my email is there. And once again, there's sort of the overview of what we did. If you like this, I have done a similar spreadsheet for organizing your ancestry DNA matches using the new shared matches tool that comes with the DNA tool subscription. So if you're interested in that, I have a spreadsheet that helps you out with that. An update will be coming out to that soon as well. That includes those macros, the things I just showed you at the end. So good luck. Enjoy your DNA and be safe. Bye.